Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fitter and Faster Coaches Corner. I'm your host, as always, Mike Murray. Today, we have a special Olympic preview with our good friend and colleague, McGee Moody. McGee's been around high-level international swimming for a long time, served on multiple United States swimming national team staffs, and we are here to pick his brain. McGee, it's going to be a big night tonight, a big morning tomorrow in Tokyo, in the finals of these 100 freestyle, 800 free relay. We're going to talk about both, and we're going to get the coach perspective. So tonight, that 100 freestyle, we are looking at 6 of the top 8 times. Those guys are all under 48 seconds. Caleb Dressel, 47.7, I think, this morning, but he was 47.2 leading off the relay the other night. This looks like anybody's field. We got the upstart from Romania and Popovici. It looks like it is a star-studded final. If you're Greg Troy right now and you're having conversations with Caleb about what to expect, how to manage the expectation, what are you telling Caleb before he goes into this session?
Greg is a really good friend of mine. He's a mentor. He's a good friend. And so I can almost hear his voice when I say this, but I think right now he's telling Caleb, go be yourself, go race your race. And the things we know about Caleb are in the first 15 meters, there's no one on this planet that's better than him. Some of the most amazing things that I've seen in swimming, going all the way back to SEC's 4 or 5, 6 years ago, when he went 17 in the 50, and NCAA's, his first 15 meters is unlike anything I've ever seen. He hits the water at such an angle that, it almost defies physics. It looks like he gets faster once he hits the water. And then the line that he has, the kick out that he has, but the thing that I think that separates him is those first 2 breakout strokes, those first 2 hand hits coming out of his breakout, put him in such a superior position to everyone else in the field. And even you looked in the relay, in the 4x100 relay, when he led off, by the 15, he had a half body length lead on everybody else there. And so I think you tell Caleb, you go be you. You do what you do. Now, if I'm Greg, I'm downplaying maybe that last 15 meters a little bit, because we saw Caleb kind of tighten up a little bit coming home. He was still 47.2. I think he goes under 47 to win. He's, until proven wrong, he's the favorite. I'm not sure there's a better swimmer on this planet right now than him.
Coach, that is terrific insight on those first 2 strokes, especially coming out of the breakout. He really launches himself out there underwater, hard to beat. We look at some of the other contenders in here, and it just seems to open up more and more as this meet goes on. The Italians are having phenomenal performances thus far. You have Saccone right now leading the way going into the next session at 47.71. Dressel's right behind him. Defending Olympic champion, the Aussie Kyle Chalmers, and then just a host of 47.8, 47.8, 47.8. Upstart, Popovici, who we saw a couple weeks ago go 47 low. What are you telling these other athletes if you're their coach? What if you're Chalmers' coach right now, and he's kind of sitting in that catbird seat, like got nothing to lose, trying to defend that title? All eyes have been on Dressel. Put yourself into the Aussies coaching staff, and what do you tell Chalmers going into this session?
Well, I think I think you can take a page out of the Titmus book. The bottom line is she went out there again. I'm going to say this again, but she swam her race where she was in control. And I think if you're an Australian coach, you play that card and go, look, against all odds, she did this. Why not you? Why don't you just go out there and do this? What's stopping you? You've been on the world's biggest stage before. Why would you not step into that role again? Go embrace it, enjoy the moment, take it all in, and go win you a gold medal. And if you, I think when you get to this level, at least when I was in that position, whether it be at SECs or NCAAs or on the national team staff on a trip, when you get to that level, those athletes want to feel reinforced in who they are and what they've done, like that process. They want to know they want to hear that confidence from their coach. And so I think, the time for making changes right now, in my mind, is done. I think you go in there and you play psychologist in the biggest way. If you have an athlete that's not feeling good, so what? So what? So what if you don't feel good? You go and you execute the plan. And I think that's what all these guys are going to go after. Now, I think Popovici is the one that is the difference maker here. And I think if you're his coach, I think you go in there and you just go, hey, right now you're the guy that everybody's afraid of. Like you're the guy that can step in there and just blow this whole picture up, go and be a rock star, go and create your legend. Because a kid that young that's doing the thing that he's doing, he's going to embrace that and run with it. Go and be a legend, be great. So I think there's some different approaches here depending on the age and the experience of each of these athletes. The conversation with Caleb Dressel in 2016 was probably much different than the conversation going into today with Caleb Dressel. He's got a much different role this time around on the Olympic team than he had in 2016. So I think it's what we do know is it's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun to watch, but my money's on Dressel. I'm going to say right now, I think he takes out, in that he was 22-2 to his feet in the leadoff leg, I think.
22-2 on the way out, leading off the relay, 22-7 to his feet this morning, kind of trying to feel out and cruise that 100.
So it'll be interesting where he settles in at, how much was he pushing that first 50 in the relay? I like I said, his front end speed is just absolutely ridiculous. So I think it's going to be really, it's going to be a fun swim to watch tonight. I think all these guys in there, you look at how they're packed in there. The 100 is a tight race anyway, but I think you've got some guys that have very different psychological approaches to this. But I am interested to see what Popovici does. I mean, he shocked the world just a few weeks ago, and now he wasn't really in the conversation until a few weeks ago, and now he's the name. So
he's 144 in that 200 free, finishing in 4th place in his first big final at the Olympic Games.
Right, like that. You got to look. This is not the last time we're going to hear this kid's name. He's going to be around for a while, and it's good. It's good for our sport. It's good for names to pop up like this, and it's the same thing with Lydia Jacoby, and it's so good for our sport to see people. Yeah, right. See people that are bringing that attention. I bet you I've watched it 100 times. That high school gym in Alaska that just erupts when she wins. That's what we all want, right? Like that's what we want our sport to be, and we want that for our athletes. So such good stuff. I can't wait for the 100 tonight. It's gonna be awesome.
What do you're on the Russian staff now, Coach, and you're watching a guy like Clement Kolniskov come off that huge win in 100 back. He is riding on top of that wave. How do you manage some of those expectations he might have, or do you let that wave just crash and go, baby?
I let it go. I say ride it. You know what I mean? Like I think you got energy, you've got momentum, you've got motion. If anything, you just keep building that up. You help that wave grow. And like I said, there's at this level, there's so much psychological coaching that goes on. And I'll tell you, we have two of the best in the business that are leading our U.S. teams in regards to that. David and Dave Durden and Greg Meehan are two of the best cohesive chemistry building psychological coaches that we have in the business. And so, I think that goes a long way when we get to where we are. But in my mind, if I'm there, I'm building that wave up. I'm riding that wave. I'm telling them, look what you've already done, and we're just getting started. And so I think you let it go.
Coach, you know a thing or two about coaching some great middle distance freestylers. The last 4 years at South Carolina, you had some of the most dominant short course swimmers in the world. And we're taking a look now at the 800 freestyle relay for the men. And what a final heat we have here. You take a look at what the Brits did in the 200 freestyle yesterday, going gold, silver. these guys coming out of nowhere almost. I mean, we knew a little bit, but we didn't know Dean was going to be that fast. I mean, what an unbelievable swim. We're looking right now at the U.S. is sitting in the 5th spot after that prelims, and you have a host of teams at 7:05, but then you have the British far and away, a body length and a half, 7:03.2 is the top seed. What are you looking at with this race coming to fruition?
Well, I think, we were talking a little bit ago about swimming your own race. And I think watching that 200 free, those guys absolutely swam their own race. They were not in the picture until the last 35 meters. And then they executed, they stuck with the plan. They didn't panic at the beginning of the race, and it paid off. If there's anything young swimmers can learn, it's you have to stay within your lane lines and know what you've been training. Those guys knew exactly where they needed to be at the 50, the 100, the 150, and then they brought it home. Whereas, you saw a few others that were flying die, they paid for it in the end. I think the Brits have got to be the favorite tonight. I think that's not going out on a limb after watching the 200. But I think, we've got some, as the United States, we've got some decisions to make. We have some questions, a lot of questions that not necessarily from a performance standpoint, but what's our fastest four? What would be the best combination, in what order? What can we do to put ourselves and our country in the best position to medal? So I think it's going to be interesting. But you've got some good swims on there. I think Drew Kibler with a 146.1 lead off is a solid swim. But then to me, the question is, where do you go after that? You've got Kieran, who I think's got to be on there. Townley, you got Townley Haas, you've got Caleb Dressel. And again, I'm gonna look. I know Greg Troy, and there's never been a Greg Troy swimmer that cannot finish a 200, right? Like that's his wheelhouse. And so, do you put Dressel on that? All right, you've got Seliskar 146.1 on his relay splits. You've got Blake Peroni 146.2. Patrick Allen was he's a 147.1 there. So what's your fastest combination, and how do you set them up? And what do we do to try to offset what the Brits have done in the last, 48 hours? So what are your thoughts on that?
It's unbelievable, man, because you think about it. Let me just list off these names for you that they have as personnel. Okay. Duncan Scott, Tom Dean. All right. That's your silver gold medalist right there. Yep. And then James Guy, who's been 144 low. I mean, right out of the gate, you got the big guns going for the Brits, and they didn't even use Duncan in that prelim relay. So, they're going to have energy. They're going to be fired up. And again, you're a Team USA coach. What is the staff saying to these guys sitting in the 5th spot? This relay is always a hotly contested relay. It's one that we all mark on our Olympic schedule to watch. A lot of pride wrapped up in this. Kind of the relay that in a lot of coaches' minds, it kind of lets people know who's been doing the work and who hasn't, right? Who's ready to go an 800 free relay in the middle of the meet and not let their individual races be affected, right?
Yeah, and I think, not just this one relay, but the United States historically has that. Our pride is in those relay swims. I mean, you look at throughout history, and I'll take it all the way back to 1984, when the United States outtouched Mikkel Gross in the 4x200 freestyle relay to beat the unbeatable German team. And I mean, there's history not only in this relay, but history for the United States in every relay. That's where we find our team pride in that. And you heard Michael Phelps talking about the importance of that men's 400 freestyle relay and winning that, and what it does for team morale and what it does for setting us up for future success. And, I think as a coach, you make these guys, they're aware of the history. They know what's riding on this. And I think you reinforce again their ability to go out and race with the best in the world. We take pride in that as Americans. We go out and we want to be the best. And so the coach is coming across with confidence that, hey, these are our 4 guys we're going with. This is who's going to put us on the medal stand. This is what we're going to do. And never casting any shade of doubt of what we're capable of doing, but going in there with the foregone conclusion, we're going to go in there, we're going to win a medal. What are we going to do here? You know, and so I think there's talent here. To me, is picking the right guys, picking the right guys that are going to be on there. And to me, it's not the question of, is Dressel the right guy? It's, how does this work into the rest of his schedule? Big picture for Caleb Dressel, what does this do to him? And you know, we're not talking about a 12, 13-year-old athlete here who can swim 37 events in a weekend. You know what I mean? We're talking about a guy who he is an elite level athlete and has specialized in every stroke that he takes is calculated. And we've got to make sure we get the most out of our superstar athletes. So does this 200, does this affect the rest of his meet? You know, I don't know. If that's not in the question, I think Dressel is without question on this relay. So
you and I have both seen at SEC's Caleb jump in the breaststroke leg of that 400 medley relay when the team needs him. 51.0, I think he split.
Right, yeah. I think he was actually faster than that. I think he was a 50 point. There's nothing, you know, Steve Youngbluth was one of Caleb's coaches at Florida, and Steve worked with Caleb a lot. And I remember we used to talk about it, and I asked him, I said, what's different about Caleb? And he said, Caleb is the most athletic human being I've ever seen. And he said, I'm not talking about using water as a medium. He goes, in general, he said, this kid can make ping pong look athletic. And so I think there's something to that. You're right. He can do anything. He has that body awareness. You can put him in a breaststroke leg. He's got the training for a 200 freestyle. You know, he does. And he has the unbelievable fast twitch muscle fiber that throws him out in the first 50 of 100 at a speed that nobody else can really go. So there's a lot there, but I think if the coaches are comfortable with the rest of his schedule, I think he's without question on that relay.
I love it. McGee, does it take a sub 7-minute performance to take the gold in this event?
I don't know. That's so fast. Holy cow, that's so fast. I think so. Because look at what the Brits did. They didn't put their guy on there. So I think it does. And that
really neat.
Oh, that's stuff that's hard to comprehend when you think about that's depth like that. That's big time swimming. But we also, throughout the years, we've also seen that all it takes is one team to do it. And then it's going to become the norm. Like, then that's what's expected. You know, I think the really interesting thing, and this is not a conversation for today, but you know, we've got some of the fastest 200 and 500 yard freestylers on this planet. How do we convert that to long course? That to me is the question that has to be answered. You know, because you look at Kieran Smith, you look at Townley, you look at Blake Peroni. These guys are throwing down times that if you just take simple yards to meters conversions, should be in the 142, 143 range, you know, and we're holding on 146s. We've got to figure out what that looks like. We have to figure out what we need to change in our training. And I'm not sure what the answer to that is right now. Like, I don't know. I think we've got some people probably smarter than me that have a pretty good idea of what needs to be done throughout the quad to make that happen. But to me, that's what's interesting is we've got a lot of speed. We just can't seem to convert it to meters.
Ira Klein said the same exact thing to me 2 weeks ago. Same exact thing. You're absolutely right. And that might be an episode that we jump in on together.
I'd love it. I think it is a very, very interesting side of swimming that I think that's our next step. Like, that's what we have. How are we we are the best short course yards team. Well, I don't want to say short course yards team, but we've mastered short course yards. We got guys cranking 406s in a 500 freestyle. I mean, it was 4 years ago that, you know, Finn Manuth and Akram Mahmoud from South Carolina were going into finals, seeded 1 and 2 in the 500 freestyle with 409s. And at SEC's, Kieran Smith goes 4:06, and Jake McGee, he's right beside him. You know, and so we've got that short course yard speed. We have to figure out how to translate that over, take out some of those turns, take out some of those underwaters. We've got to figure out a way to transfer that over to long course meters. That's going to be our next step in our evolution for international swimming.
McGee, before I let you go, last question today, and you and I are going to get together throughout the next couple of days ahead of some of these final sessions, and we're so thankful to have you and your opinions. All right, we had some challenges today and last night. You know, Ryan Murphy getting beat, Lily King getting beat. You know, we saw Ledecky in that great race with Titmus. You got your coach hat on again. What are you telling these athletes who have so much pressure, so much expectation? Reagan Smith, you got commercials about them happening right before the final event. It's being simulcast into the pool area. Yeah. Just so much pressure. What are you telling them as their coach today as they get into their next few events?
You know, the interesting thing I see with that is where these athletes have fallen short, they have immediately jumped into a leadership role. And I think there's something to that. That's been planned. Like, you know, Lily has sometimes gotten a bad rap because of the intensity with which she brings to swimming, which, by the way, I love it. Like, I just love it. I maybe that makes me a bad person. I don't know. I love it. But immediately yesterday, when that final went down last night and Lydia Jacoby wins, the first thing you saw her say, you could read her lips, "I am so proud of you." Like that is established well before that moment took place. You look at Ryan Murphy and his leadership. You look at Katie Ledecky and the sportsmanship and the class that she showed in defeat. To me, I see these athletes making this transition to leaders, to, you know, you've got Allison Smith, that's an all-time great captain. But you see them making these transitions now. I think you go in there as a coach and you go, look, you're not out of this. You get to embrace two roles now. You get to be that leader and be that superstar. Block out the white noise, block out the stuff that doesn't matter. Go in and embrace these two things. You're a rock star and you have the opportunity to influence. You know, go influence and go race, have fun. Like that to me is a great place to be as an Olympic athlete, because, you know, Ryan Murphy, Lily King, Katie Ledecky have been at the pinnacle. And whether or not they won that gold medal last night, they've been there. They can now take those experiences, pour them into this younger generation, and continue to still race at a very high level. There is absolutely no reason, you know, why Katie Ledecky can't go undefeated from here on out. Like there's no reason. So I think you encourage them to embrace the rest of this event as be a leader and go be the rock star that everybody knows who you are. You're right. There's so much noise surrounding this. And, you know, I woke up this morning and I heard the news about Simone Biles, and I was like, oh God, you think of like literally the weight of the world sits on their shoulders for 2 to 3 weeks. These kids carry, and they're kids. They carry the expectations of you and I and every other person in this country. And you know, you look at what that's done, and I look, it's my hope that Simone Biles is takes a breath, regroups, and gets back after this, because she is the greatest athlete at these games. It's unbelievable what she does. And I know that our athletes can do the same thing. There's a lot of coaches over there that are pouring second by second into these athletes to make sure mentally they're in the place they need to be in going into their next race. There's a lot of thought that goes into how Greg and how Dave approaches each one of these athletes, and their own personal coaches that are there with them too. So, God, man, you're right. You know, I hadn't really thought about Reagan Smith, but you're right. That was simulcast in the actual arena that she was in as she's standing there getting ready to swim. I can't I can't imagine that pressure. And I'm 47 years old. When you're 17, 18, 19 years old, how do you keep from throwing up in that moment? Like, really, you know what I mean? Maybe that's a benefit, being 17, 18, 19 years old. I don't know. But, I think I'm hoping, well, I don't hope. I know those coaches have this under control. They have these relationships built. They've spent a lot of time with these athletes. And I know that they are pouring into them in a way that these kids are going to be prepared. They're going to be able to go out, and they're representing us well. They're representing us with their performance. They're representing us with their sportsmanship, their dignity. I think they're doing a great job. There's going to be nights where we're flat, and there's going to be nights where we're great. And just because we had a flat night last night doesn't mean we're not going to have a great night tonight. So that's what I think they have to carry into it. Last night's results have no impact on tonight's efforts.
McGee, beaming with American pride as usual. Great insight. Love it. Appreciate it. We're going to be with you the next couple days and into next week with some previews of finals. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to talking with you more soon.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you. Looking forward to it.